Good evening and welcome to this session on lessons learned from innovative approaches to peace building. There is still place around the table, so dear audience, come and join us here. That will be very nice to have you a little bit closer. My name is Hilde Hardeman. I give you a moment to move if you want to move, or you stay where you are. Voila. It's nicer to be closer together. Okay, I think we can start. So, my name is Hilde Hardeman. I work for the European Union, a project that allowed to break the vicious circle of centuries of war in Europe and has brought peace, prosperity, and freedom for hundreds of millions of citizens on the European continent. But developments in the world show us every day again how precious and fragile peace really is. And the people here around the table with me know everything about that. I'm honored to have with us 6 distinguished panel members who each in their own way are working for sustainable peace. I'm very happy to welcome with us Svitlana Lukyanchenko, Deputy Head of the Ukrainian NGO Power of the Future that helps internally displaced persons in Ukraine regain their lost identities. And Hani Al-Safadi, Syria Programs Coordinator at SAWA for Development and Aid. Pastor Daniel Gebreselassie, Chairman of Justice for All in Ethiopia, a key player in the National Dialogue Commission there. Also next to me, Shahida Hassami, founder and general director of the humanitarian organization Aide Humanitaire et Journaliste. Mohamed Ahmed, executive director of the Mwatana Organization for Human Rights, which works to promote the rule of law in Yemen. And last but not least, Christian Richer, Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations, Special Advisor and Head of UNITAD. Now, in the next 45 minutes or so, we will look together at how inclusive, sustainable and innovative solutions can help support reintegration and reconciliation in the most difficult contexts, bringing much needed solutions in a fragile world. Our speaker will first share their experience, and then we will turn to you, our audience. Now let's try to make the most of our limited time, and we will conduct the panel in English and French. Now my first question goes to Svitlana Lukyanchenko. Svitlana, social capital is a crucial element for the well-being of every human being, in peacetime, let alone in wartime. Your NGO works with internally displaced persons within Ukraine. Now, how do you create the magic to rebuild social capital in a situation of hot conflict? Over to you, Svitlana.
Thank you very much for the question. My name is Svitlana Lukyanchenko. I'm really appreciated to be here. I'm proud to be here. And I want to say some words about our project, about our approach. I'm a project manager of Ukrainian NGO Power of the Future. Our project is named Contact to You. And we worked from 2015 in Ukraine. We help IDP in Dnipro city and region, and since that time we have been helping more than 5,000 people in Ukraine, and we working in the field of supporting IDPs. Our major approach is community-based social healing. We create supportive, develop communities using creative methods such as playback theater, art techniques, and other art therapy, and so on. Since 2018, Power of the Future has been cooperating with GIZ, Civil Peace Service, in the field of supporting conflict transformation, fostering the development of legal consciousness, and shaping a society where coexistence in diversity is possible. About questions, the war in Ukraine continues and is acute phase. And every day we hear more than 3 or 4 sirens that let us know about military attack from the sky. And it's not safety situation, but life goes on and people are moving to safer regions and they need support. Because they lost a lot of things, and not only material expenses, but also social capital as an important part of their normal life. And our project was created by our team as a response to acute humanitarian crisis that arose in Dnipro city and region at the beginning of full-scale invasion in 2022. As a result of Russia's aggressions against Ukraine, 10 million people left their homes. In this context, more than 300,000 IDPs moved to Dnipro city and region. In addition to material losses, IDPs lost a significant part of the social capital. The objective of our projects is to restore the social capital of the affected individuals through creative methods of conflict transformation, to create supportive community, to help meet social emotional needs through psychosocial support. And the Power of the Future organize events that help participants restore their psycho-emotional well-being, establish social connections, and rediscover their lost identities. Our major tool are social art, such as playback theater, drum and single circle, art practices to foster community development. All activities are designed to fortify inclusivity and mutual understanding among individuals, fostering enduring social relationships. And at the end of my little speech, I want to add that I'm sure in our methods and approach from my personal experience, because in 2014, I am fled from Russia occupation from Lugansk. I'm from Lugansk and I am IDP. And I start my new life in Dnipro. And in 2022, I need to look for a safe place for me and my children the second time. And now I am here because our methods support me too, and I believe that it helps other people in our country.
Thank you so much, Svetlana, for sharing that with us, also your personal experience. Now I'm looking to Hani Al-Safadi next to me, and Hani, to you, my question is the following. You foster participation and mobilize women for change locally and internationally, using existing women-led networks to enhance resilience and promote reintegration, equity, peace building. Now, which aspect of your work makes the biggest positive impact? And how can your experience be relevant for others elsewhere across the globe? Over to you.
Thank you. My name is Hani. Thank you for having me. I'm representing SAWA for Development and Aid. It's an NGO operating in the Middle East. So the Syrian Women Community Mobilization Network is one of the core and essential programs for community work within our organization. The ultimate aim of this program is to enhance the meaningful and effective participation of Syrian women across the whole Syrian geography, and also in the neighboring refuge countries such as Turkey and Lebanon, and also in the diaspora. It also aims at connecting women with each other, creating cross-regional networks that bridge the gap between their local communities, bottom up to the national level. So back to your question, we have a lot of positive aspects, but given the tight time we have today, I will be mentioning a few of them. First of all, the inclusivity of our networks, as they provide access to various Syrian women, whether they are individuals, women's organizations, or initiatives, fostering an atmosphere of dialogue between them and their local communities. So the inclusivity of our networks enabled women to join from different ethnic and religious backgrounds, also from rural and urban areas, in addition to including refugees, internally displaced women, and marginalized women. This inclusive and holistic approach helped us to gain deeper understanding of their needs, perspectives, priorities, and also their various concerns. And if you are well aware about the Syrian context, the conflict in Syria has given the rise to 3 different areas of control in which disrupted the social fabric of the Syrian society. And that's why it's very essential to create such networks that gather and connect women from different areas and regions of control, and to provide them with secure communication channels where they can exchange knowledge, share experiences and skills. In addition to that, our networks have established an emerging institutional structure where women can work together and address their local and national issues such as legal discrimination, economic marginalization, traditions, and demographic changes. And most importantly, women have been able to develop a common national understanding despite the differences of their needs in different areas of control. And actually, this is one of the most important entry points for peace building in Syria, as it resists the divisions created by the Syrian conflict. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hani. Truly impressive. Now I turn to Pastor Daniel Gebrselassie. Now, Pastor Daniel Gebrselassie, as President of Justice for All, you play a key role in the National Dialogue Commission in Ethiopia that works on a political and legal framework for reconciliation and transitional justice tools that are aligned with the Pretoria Agreement commitments. Now, what are for you the main criteria that transitional justice tools need to be responding to be effective? And which lessons can you share with us, with the audience? Over to you.
Thank you very much. First, I thank the people of France and the President Macron, and also the organizer of this Paris Forum. And it's a good privilege for me and an honor to share some of the engagement on the peace process, to encouraging peace practitioners, policymakers, peace-loving people, that if we put genuine effort to make a right call, persistently engage all actors with empathy, we can make our planet peaceful. Coming from the country which seen such tragedy, conflict, displacement, suffering, my message to the plenary is peace is doable if we come together with empathy. It is a myth of global gloom and a war tested with spirit of hope and peace could and should be laundered. So my organization, Justice for All, establishing the last 30 years in Ethiopia, the first are starting to move forward rule of law and supporting human rights, individual rights, prisoners' rights. I faced myself also in 1918 when Ethiopia was led by military coup, military leaders. I was in prison, 4x4 room, 16 people slept, and then torture. I learned my life. Then I live my life to give to voiceless people, to give voice and stand my life and for human dignity and justice for all. So that led me without any break, 30 years leading civil society to give voiceless people voice, to stand human dignity, justice for all. Then we engage into the rule of law, from prison to amendment of many rules and policies in the country, and engaging ourselves on rule of law, building investigation of manual for the federal police, and supporting also the military justice to protecting human rights in different actors in the country. So my second engagement is also in peace and conflict resolution. Through this Peace and Reconciliation Center, we work in the last 15 years. The first is starting in 2005, when opposition leaders are put in jail. In 2005, we engaging this elders council, establishing 100 people among all in Ethiopia. Ethiopia has 135 million people now. We have 8 regional states, so and 12 regional states. So subsequently, we're starting to engaging the release of political prisoners as elders in the council. This from different ethnicity backgrounds. So finally, they released from prison, and then reconciliation has come in 2005. The country was peace the last of 2015, 5 to 18. And then the new government has come with hope, and then the challenge has started that also in the north part of Ethiopia, a lot of casualty and killings of people, each other. So we engaging also on that, supporting the dialogue behind the door. The South Africa, as you mentioned, the chairwoman that mentioned also the South Africa agreement, helping to keep a silent gun in the north part of Ethiopia. So we contributing also for peace, people to people. When the political leaders are engaging on the top level, we minimizing the risk of killing of innocents. So we engaging with different ethnic groups, problem-solving mechanism, conflict resolution. We have historically, 1,000 years back, we have, traditional conflict resolution mechanism. We use that, and then people to people, even some of the politicians and the elites starting to sign of genocide, but the people are avoiding, will not kill each other. So this is minimizing the risk of killing each other. So I think this is achievement also on the justice for all. Recently also by the support of French government, French embassy and Scandinavian countries, we start to policy dialogue on transitional government. This transitional government, it's a very important transition of justice, and it's a very important element in Ethiopia. Transitional justice is a very important element that including inside reconciliation, accountability, and also compensation. That's also is a very important amnesty also. So I think these 4 or 5 factors inside transitional justice. We are dealing also with Ethiopian Women Lawyer Association and protecting the women as well, children and mothers. So we are also supporting that the policy will approve within the next 1 month and supporting people to people. So I thank you very much and for inviting me on this historical moment. Thank you all. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pastor Daniel Gebrselassie. We can see we are speaking about different parts of the world, but in the end, it's all about human beings. Now, maintenant, je m'adresse à Madame Shaida Hessami.
I'm now turning to Mrs. Shaida Hessami.
De quelle façon est-ce que le journalisme
How do you think that journalism can enforce the respect for human rights, and can you share your experience with the audience today? The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me and allowing Aide Humanitaire Journalisme to speak. I've come with wonderful women. You see them with a T-shirt of Women Without Borders. I'm the founder of Aide Humanitaire Journalisme, humanitarian aid and journalism. I'm the Director General, but I'm not the only one, and we are 40 women in 12 countries in this network, wonderful women, experts, journalists and activists who work in favor of civilization and peace in conflict areas. Humanitarian aid and journalism was created in 2017 to help women that escaped Daesh express themselves, women who were the victims of war violence. And we wanted to change their status of victims thanks to photojournalism and photos. And Bina Khama, the first beneficiary of our program, is nowadays in Canada. She benefited from a scholarship and an education program, and today she's an ambassador of her Yazidi population. In 2018, we started working on French government programs on gender equality throughout the world, and we tried to understand the challenges during this third stage of the strategy, and we started working on a project called Journalism to Emancipate Women in Conflict Areas, and we set up a project called Makanity, which in Arabic means my place in the media, because we believe in the power of women in conflict areas. Women don't want wars, and they are the primary victims. The victims are children and women mainly, and when women have a place in society and in conflict areas, they can play an important role in stabilization in these areas. The Makanity project in Yemen and Iraq was the first step to educate women, because we think that thanks to education, women can change the image of women in the media and find a place for themselves and play a part in social justice as well. And it is thanks to this program that we're able to analyze the situation in other countries with Syrian refugees, displaced persons. We know the story of IDPs in war areas very well, and this has encouraged us to create a network called Women Without Borders, and to really work on policy with respect, but work all together in favor of human rights. Why journalism? That was your question, because journalism is a powerful tool. It is a tool that can really play a positive role, but of course also a negative role. But when women take power and use a tool as powerful of journalism, in particular independent journalism, they can play a very important role. Now, I'm going to tell you about a network that we created within the framework of the Generation Equality Forum, Women Without Borders. We are 40 women, and we work on 3 actions. The first one is education. We train women about new techniques of protections. We have podcasts, we communicate about development, and also the theories of concept of gender equality, about cyber security, physical protection as well, because as you know, journalists in general, women like men in conflict areas, are are in danger, are confronted with dangers, especially if they want to work on sensitive issues. So cybersecurity is something that affects women and men, but when women want to work as journalists, they face up a double danger from society, from the conflict, and from the militia that attack women because they want women to stay at home and not work. That's why there are journalists and activists, female journalists and activists that are in exile. So our second action is to help and support these women. We have about 10 women from several countries that have arrived in France today, and their fight must not stop because they are in exile. That is why our project, and we set it up thanks to the forum, the Paris Forum for Peace, to make sure that these women, once they're in France, do not stop the fight and can continue it, and to raise awareness about the fact that they know the context, the situation in their country, and they can provide a link between the conflict areas and France. And the third action is networking. There are women from some countries that are here today, and networking is important for us. These women must travel. They must overcome the borders. We don't believe in borders. We come from everywhere, and we have no difference. And that's why our project is trying to play a positive role to keep power and to keep the necessary strength to change the world and work for a peaceful work. Thank you. Many, many thanks, Shaida, for everything that you are doing with all these women that work with you.
Mohamed Faisal. Mohamed, we all know that the rule of law is crucial for any society. And in a situation of conflict and instability, the rule of law really becomes a matter of life or death. So how does your project help make a difference in Yemen? Over to you.
Thank you, Haldi. I am really happy to be here today with you. It is a great opportunity to us to share our experience as human rights defender, as well as to benefit from other experience. Just a summary introduction for our organization. Muwatana organization is a human rights organization based in Yemen, established in 2007. And with the beginning of the war in 2014, many violations started to be committed by parties to the conflict, and Muwatana started to work on documenting all these violations inside Yemen. As you know, Yemen is known as the worst humanitarian man-made crisis in the world. Actually, it has been living for war since 9 years. The state institutions are collapsed due to the ongoing conflict. So we at Muwatana for Human Rights still believe in the rule of law, even among the situation. Therefore, we recruited field lawyers who are working on the ground in all Yemeni governorates to call for the applying Yemeni law. Muwatana actually have field lawyers who all over Yemen. They provide legal support and consultant for the victims of detainees, enforced disappearance, and victim of torture. They also not only participating in releasing these victims, but they also reminding all parties to the conflict that they have to respect the law, especially during the situation that we are living in. Also, Muwatana field lawyers keep imposing on the parties to the conflict inside Yemen that they have to deal with in accordance with Yemeni law, as well as accordance to the international law. This aspect of enhancing the rule of law inside Yemen, beside the documentation, all the violations that are committed in the ground by all the parties, through also the field researchers who work in Yemeni governorate, and pushing for the accountability is our own way to work and reach to the sustainable peace. Also, it is our duty, and we believe at Muwatana that it is our duty to build a human rights memory for all that crime and violation that committed in Yemen. In order to reach for criminal accountability, as well as to enhance the inputs for transitional justice, which we are working in the coming period. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mohamed. Last but not least, I'm turning to Special Advisor Christian Richer. And my question to you is about accountability. Accountability is vital for peace building and post-conflict reconstruction. Now, what can you share from your experience working to help ensure accountability for ISIL core crimes in Iraq? Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for getting the opportunity to talk about the work of UNITAD. I'm very much honored to be here. As you might know, UNITAD was established on the request of Iraq by the Security Council through Resolution 2379 in 2017 in order to promote accountability for the international crimes committed by ISIL in Iraq between 2014 and 2017. And that is most important to know because the mandate is pretty unique. UNITAD is located in Iraq, in the host country itself. So we are working on the ground, we are working with the affected communities. That makes a difference to other investigative bodies of the United Nations which are not located in the respective country of the situation. We are working directly in the country, and we are working, of course, with the government of Iraq, with the institutions of Iraq, with the judiciary, of course, which is our primary recipient and our primary counterpart, but as well, of course, with the affected communities, with the victims and with the survivors of the heinous crimes committed by ISIL between 2014 and 2017. And we are doing that always under the aspect, as I mentioned, of international crimes, war crimes, crimes against humanity, genocide. So we are not a counterterrorism entity. We are not dealing with membership in a terrorist organization, for example, and a crime which does not know victims by itself. Yeah, membership is membership, quite abstract. But we are digging deeper, and we are investigating in the crimes which affected the people, which affected the victims, which affected the society as such. That is most important to know. And this, of course, leads to the result that we, the investigative team, heavily rely on the cooperation with, as I mentioned, with the jurisdiction part in particular, with the affected communities. While doing so, we, for example, are supporting the authorities in Iraq through the digitization of all the documents which were left behind by ISIL when they retreated, and these are millions and millions of documents. This is the part of our work which is here now invited to the Paris Peace Forum, and you can see that on booth 58 with my colleagues, and that is quite an innovative approach that we are supporting Iraqi judiciary in particular through digitization of these documents. Most of them are paperwork, and they have to be preserved, they have to be analyzed, and they have to be accessible in the end so that you once can use them in fair trials on charges of international crimes before the competent courts. And that you have evidence-based trials in the end, which will lead to, well, convictions or at least to judgments based on evidence and which prove in the end what happened, yeah? So that you don't rely as an affected community on political statements, but you have in the end, and that is the added value for the communities, for the affected victims, that there is a deep investigation and that there is involvement of victims and survivors in these investigative procedures, in the prosecution, in the trials themselves, so that leads to convictions and not just to narratives. Yeah? And that is, I think, the added value, and that is what leads to reconciliation in within the communities, and it gives relief to the victims and survivors. We saw that, for example, with convictions which were achieved here in Europe against foreign terrorist fighters and against fugitives. From Iraq, for example, for charges of genocide, what happened in 2021 in the famous Frankfurt judgment against an Iraqi national who was convicted for genocide against the Yazidi population. And that echoes very much into the affected community. And this is our approach, and I think this is gives sustainable, in the end, sustainable justice to the communities, and that is the way we want to follow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Special Advisor. Thank you so much, Christian. Now, we could go for a quick second round, but actually, I think, looking at the time, but also hearing the deep, deep interest of what colleagues here around the table have been sharing with you, I would rather be inclined to open the floor for our audience. So, audience, dear public, do you have any questions for this wonderful panel? I don't see any, so while you reflect, I'll go. Ah, there is one there. Please.
Thanks a lot, Hilda, and thanks to the panelists. It's great to hear your stories. I've kind of got a slight challenge and a question. The challenge is, and I find the stories of change that you've provided very powerful, and it's great to hear. I don't think they're necessarily innovative. And I find, as someone involved in peacebuilding work, that oftentimes we are held hostage by the need to tell our donors that what we're doing is innovative. I think what I've heard from you are some very creative and adaptive responses based on a deep contextual understanding of how change can happen in the situations in which you work. And you've responded in ways that are applicable to the context. But actually, much of what you've shared, I've seen happen in many places over many years. And I find that we're often pushed to frame what we do as being innovative because we're trying to get donors to continue funding our work. And we're struggling to get donors to appreciate what we all know, which is that peacebuilding is a long-term endeavor. And yet donors are constrained by funding us in short-term bites of money. And so I'd be very interested to hear from all of you how you've navigated the relationships with the donors to permit you to do this adaptive work and to sustain the work. Because I think what we all know is that our peacebuilding endeavors need to continue for the long term. And yet we're constantly having to lay the railway track of each new grant in front of the train that we're riding on. And I'd love to hear your stories of how you convince the donors to keep supporting your work.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. I look whether there is another question on the floor. I don't see any for now. I would like to build on what Jonathan raised as a question, the relationship with donors. For that question, I would maybe first turn to Hani. So how can you work the best with donors? How can you convince them of what you're doing? Very brief answer, and then I will turn to other members of the panel.
Okay. Of course, we have this difficulty, as you are mentioning, with dealing with donors, because sometimes the programs are repetitive somehow. But one way I can go through, we had tried to do in order to mitigate this. we involved our PRA department in our projects. So in each project, we are conducting research while we are implementing our project, and this research will investigate how we can improve our intervention in the future and how we can build on this intervention, how we can develop our future programs. And this, the results of these research we usually share with our donors and provide some recommendations on how we can develop these projects in the future. So this one way, like we used in our organization in order to design better projects and better, like if we have a second phase in any project, how we can improve our intervention. So this is one way of how we deal with this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hani. So you draw lessons learned from what has been done. Still building on the question that was raised, je voudrais maintenant
I'd like now to turn to
Shaida.
Shaida. The issue of innovation of technology has been raised, but the question has been raised. How can innovative solutions and technology contribute to lasting peace?
From your experience, what's the role really of innovative solutions and technology to contribute lasting peace and stability? And of course, how this plays in your relationship with donors, it's of interest to us as well. Mais d'abord, Shaida, à vous.
First, Shaida, please. The floor is yours.
The technique
we use for women empowerment and to create a voice for women in conflict zones is a creation of a postcast of digital media for women. This is the first technique we use. And we think that women with this new technique, women can raise their voices and continue to create their own platforms and their own creative content. And that will raise awareness on every issue linked to conflict zones, human rights. Furthermore, independent journalism, so free and independent platforms created by women are important. Why do I specify by women? Because there's no place for women to this day. Our whole team on the field are women we created ourselves. And these women now are heads of projects. So these independent platforms for women are very important, because women are at the center of issues like peace, democracy, and respect of human rights. So all these issues in the world, in conflict areas, are pushed by women. Women are documenting these issues and contribute to the creation of stability in their regions. When women fight for their rights, it is also to save more people, more humanity, for more justice, more equality throughout the world. Giving space for female journalists means improving society. To conclude, war is created if we accept, or if war is created and managed by men today. So we need to give a space for women to play their role. So that's what we say as journalists. Journalists can give space and voice to women, and we need to give this space to women so that they can play their role to create a stable space and to create peace, because everything that happens in our country, we do not even have the right to see our fundamental rights to be respected. Men have power and they decide everything. So please give power to women so that they can create peace and stability.
Merci beaucoup, Shahida.
Thank you very much, Shahida.
Christian.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that question. Of course, I admit it is not very innovative to create peace and reconciliation through justice. You saw that in history. Well, at least the attempts. Yeah. Well, in recent history, most recent history, like the Nuremberg trials after World War II and so on. But nevertheless, I think it is quite innovative in terms of, well, if you look at the legal aspect, to have an investigative body looking at international crimes committed by a terrorist organization. I don't remember that there is another entity which did something like this. Mostly the judicial fight against terrorist organizations is through counterterrorism legislation. We have a different approach that is from the legal side. I think innovative, and this, as I explained in the beginning, leads to other consequences, like particularly involving the victims and the survivors in our approach. We have established, for example, a NGO forum where a lot of NGOs, local NGOs representing victims are having a voice and giving reflections on what we are doing, and we are in consultation with these communities. But of course, we have that innovation has a technical aspect as well, and this is what we use, and we have to use that because we are dealing with a phenomenon of several thousand fighters committing mass atrocities against thousands and thousands of affected victims. And if you want to do proper investigative work, you have to use high-tech solutions, otherwise it will not work. And this is part of that work is the digitization project we are here promoting in the Peace Forum to make these documents left behind, the huge amount of evidence which is available. Yeah? ISIL did not hide what they did. Yeah? They actively posted videos. You all know that probably, yeah? Like even on YouTube, like, well, where they killed people and all these things. These are things which have to be brought in the right order, which have to be analyzed, and which have to be made accessible. And this is something you only can do through technical solutions. Usually you don't have the capacity to run through all these documents. I mean, up to now, we digitized more than 10 million documents, so together with the Iraqi authorities. So that is not possible doing that without technical solutions. And furthermore, you have all these photos and all these documents which you have to analyze, and you have to check if you find someone on a photo or on a video. And this is where you need to be up to date in terms of technical solutions. And that is, from my point, of course, what is today innovative is the next day it's outdated. Yeah, so you have to be always on top in terms of this. And but for a national jurisdiction, this is a big leap, and in the end, it is necessary for accountability and justice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So yes, making the most of the technologies that we have today to deal with issues that are as old as mankind, I think. I would still want to turn to Pastor Daniel Gebreselassie, to Mohamed Faisal, and to Svitlana, with one question that I think is relevant for all of us. What are, in your view, the main obstacles for lasting peace and stability, and how can we overcome them? A very short contribution. Pastor Daniel, first to you.
I think, thank you very much again, the organizer. I think the main obstacles in, the political elites has to come and the willingness to show peace and reconciliation. And then also like to willingness on participation of democratization. So it needs and demand highly political will is very important. And one of the elders said 1 week ago, he's 85 years old. When conflict has arisen in different places, he said to the elites is very important, politicians are very important, but he said, if you're creating a problem, let us give you one city. All elites and politicians live in one place, live alone. We people need peace. We don't want to be fight each other. Let's relocating you a city given to you if you're not leading to peace and development and democracy toward building the nation and the sustainable peace. So I think the obstacle is a very important thing, that political will is a very important. Then international community also addressing this challenge, working with the civil society, not only government to government. There is a resource also assigning for people, for the poor. It's making balance to government as well as community-based. This is a very important thing. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much. I would now turn to Mohamed. Mohamed, over to you.
Thank you for this question. Actually, this question needs to be explained more than in a short. I will just track some obstacles and challenges that we are facing as human rights NGO working in contexts like Yemen. The first challenge is that the continuation of the war and violation and the collapse of the state institution. Actually, this is the major obstacle that we are facing and prevent any step toward peace in the coming future. The second obstacle is that for us, as in Yemen context, is the presence of armed group in all the ground of Yemen. These armed groups are seek to undermine the rule of the law and prevent any process toward peace building. The third point, which among these obstacles, is the capabilities and the scarcity of resources, which help to enhance enhancing the peace building in the coming future. Another point that I want to mention is that in a context like Yemen, there is a space for those who want to intend to work. This space is through a weakness balance of parties to conflict. And we as NGO seize this weakness to work in this field and call for sustainable peace in the coming future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mohamed. Svetlana.
Thank you for the question. Our biggest challenges is working in times of constant insecurity in Ukraine. We must take this into account in our work because when we hold events in Ukraine, we orient ourselves so there is a shelter nearby, yes or no. And the best buildings in Ukraine for events now are the halls that immediately located in basement. It's a pity, but it's true. But we cannot wait for the end of the war because people need help now, and they have lost many things and changed their place of life and need support, and we are working with them.
Thank you so much. This is really a message of hope that you're passing. We have a few minutes left. I understand there's a question with somebody behind me. So, dear person behind me.
Yes. Yes, thank you. Hi. I wanted to actually build on a Jonathan question, because this may be actually also a question to you, Hilde, as part of a donor, to The peace community is, of course, we know, as challenged to always find innovative ways, but actually at the end of the day, it's also what the flexibility on the side of the donors to actually say, we know it's a long-term process, it will probably take even generations. So how can we ensure that this very important work can be funded and supported? And I think this is one of the questions that I think all of us are grappling with here in the room.
Thank you very much. I understood there was one more question. Yeah. Sir, please.
Given the fact that my name is Kazuo from Hitachi, a lot of conflicts are happening right now. Looking back, okay, should not happen, observing lessons learned from what particularly both of you mentioned, the tracking, but prevent not to happen. Any kind of suggestions or the prevention using the innovation, maybe simple thing, I don't know, technology can help or not, or any suggestions through your experiences. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Well, I have 5 minutes left before we really need to close. I will not be able to give the floor to all my guests, but I look who would like to come in on this point of prevention. Donors, I'll take in my conclusion. Who wants to speak on prevention? Svetlana.
Yes, maybe one of solution, we use playback theater, and it's technique for the create horizontal connections between people. We create some atmosphere where people can support each other. They share their stories and they support, and these methods give us some sustainable horizontal connections. And it continue after a project, and maybe it's prevent if we can use this more wide. I believe that it can help.
Thank you very much, Svetlana. Is there anybody among my guests who still wants to say something? Very briefly. I don't really have time for another question if we need to finish. You? Well, it looks like we do. Very short.
Very short on technology, and also one of the speakers who was talking about digitizing of large amounts of documentation in order to fight, in order to seek accountability, push for a fight against injustice. We are using iDoc and developing it in order to investigate and document and keep the memory of the conflicts at the moment in Norwegian Helsinki Committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's more a contribution than a question. I'm looking to my audience. Is there anybody who still in like 30 seconds wants to say anything, because that's the last chance? I don't see anybody, then I'm going to conclude. I think that the words that I retain from this discussion, the first word that I retain is connection. We are all human beings, we all need connection. Connection with ourselves. You spoke about finding back your identity if you're in a difficult situation, connecting with each other, connecting with our identity, but in such a way that it is inclusive, that it does not exclude other people, that we can interlink with others from different backgrounds, different religions, different ethnicities, and common goals, working for something together, trying to achieve something together. We need a lot of empathy to do that. We need respect. We need dialogue. We need to give those who don't have a voice a voice. We need to empower people. And we need in all of that to be very, very careful that we really respect the human dignity of everybody. And here, I think the point that was made about the importance of involving women and children is one that I really would want to emphasize. Then I think the second big block of points that I retain from this discussion is about the rule of law. not about letting, not letting vengeance come in, not a tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye, but really try to have a process that is based on a rule that is the same for everybody, that is guarded by people who are independent, who try to bring in accountability, but on a basis that can be accepted and respected by everybody. There was spoken about helping also the victims to come to terms by showing that those who committed the crimes do not go without any accountability, that they are punished, but in a civilized way. You spoke about compensation, Pastor Daniel, amnesty, the fact that you need to come at a given point to something new, build a new society. And so this whole complex of issues related to the rule of law, accountability, transitional justice is very, very important. Then we could also hear that the issues we deal with are as old as mankind, the tools we deal with are as old as mankind, but we have new tools that can help us, and we need to try to make the most of that. It is also very important that in each situation we have very deep knowledge of the underlying issues of the context. It is of course important that we can explain to our donors why we do certain things, why they make sense, and as Hani said, that we draw lessons from what we have done before. And as donors, again, given that we deal with issues that are as old as mankind, where we need to work with solutions that have proven their validity, but we need to do that in the context of 2023 and beyond. We need to try and make the most of all the means that we have available today so that we can build better for the future. And with this, I'm going to conclude. I want to thank all my guests. I want to thank the audience, but I want in particular to say really admiration to all of you who are in impossible situations doing whatever you can. My thanks to the technicians, my thanks to the organizers, my thanks to the interpreters, and with this we close. Thank you all very much.